You're supposed to wait in there. I could actually go and make it announcement for you guys.
This stuff ain't gonna work! Don't touch me! Lord! I'm in a public place. I have a right to speak. Why would you not allow me to speak? We can't be trusted in one who comes to wait for an hour after we've gone through that examination.
Yeah, I think so.
She gets upset with stuff. I did not.
Is it down here? Did I see ambulance? Is this?
Yes. Please tell her that if anything comes up, then I'm very, very sorry. That was not done on purpose.
Do we just, sorry, this disturbance is being a problem, but.
Yep.
Anthony. Oh. Everything all right? No problem.
He was upset that they didn't let people in until 10 minutes beforehand.
I opened the door at 5:45. We didn't have sheriffs here. I'm not gonna. No. Okay.
I told Michael there's probably a really good answer.
The sheriffs weren't here yet. That's why.
What's happening?
Oh, nothing. He was mad that the doors weren't open.
Oh, what doors?
We opened ours at 5:45 because
Okay.
the sheriffs hadn't gotten here yet.
Okay, what's pros on this? Is there any way we could just call her up? I don't know, is that a Nightly's thing?
I can.
Okay,
Which one is that one? The Maya Dorsat?
yeah.
Yeah, and then we can always get a replacement
Yeah, exactly.
or whatever they're gonna.
Yeah.
That might be hard to do now, but
Yes.
whatever.
Yep.
We're looking at. They're gonna motion to sever ARPA.
They're gonna try to amend it.
Make a copy, put one on my desk, put one on Dave's desk.
Is that absent? She's absent.
All right.
With the legislators.
can the legislators on Zoom hear me? Can you hear us in the chambers?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excuse me.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Can the interpreters and the legislators hear us in the chambers?
Yes.
Yes, interpreter can hear you.
Legislators.
Thank you.
The November 12th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Here. Ms. Barnhart is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Here.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Baines. Here. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley.
Here.
Mr. Blankley is present. Ms. Bonnick. Here. Ms. Bonnick is present. Mr. Brew. Here. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Here. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Chardy. Here. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Colby. Here. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Here. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer.
Here.
Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier.
I'm here.
Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Ms. Hugh Smith is excused. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. President Roman.
Here.
President Roman is present. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Pastor Orlando Thomas of New Hope Methodist Church, who has been invited by Legislator Bonnick to lead us in a moment of prayer. Please come up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. And it's just a joy to be in your presence. And we just allow the Lord to just minister to us as we become aware of his holy presence. Let us just quiet our hearts before the Lord as we pray. Holy God, we lift up your holy name in this place tonight. God of heaven and earth, the creator of the universe, we give you praise and we give you thanks. We come in your holy presence in complete dependence on you. Lord, I lift up these men and women who you have called into leadership, a holy and a sacred position in our community. I pray, God, that your anointing would rest on each of them and on their families. I pray, Lord, that by your Holy Spirit that spread the holy love of God within our hearts, that love will burn deep and bright within each person here tonight, in the mighty name of Jesus. Lord, that this love will move forward from this place, this sacred space, O God, that you have created for laws to be deliberated and put in place, for policies to be drawn up, for finances to be ordered in a way, O God, that everything will be used according to the guidance of your word, for the benefits of your people, and most of all, for the least of these. We pray, O God, that as the legislature deliberates, whether it be for laws, policies, or finances, O God, may they be guided by your Holy Spirit. I pray, Lord, for a special endowment of godly wisdom in this place. a godly wisdom, Lord, that will lead to spiritual intelligence, that would give each person the acute awareness of the reality of the spiritual realm, one that may be led by fear or the other by faith and divine love. I know each person here, Lord, would have chosen divine love and to move forward by faith, trusting you completely to guide each person in each constituency, to move in a way where selfish ambition will be pushed to the side when absolutely necessary to meet the needs of the common good. Father, I bless your holy name for this body. I thank you for the work that you're doing through them. May they understand, Lord, that this is sacred ground and this is a holy place. Whatever laws, whatever policies, whatever finances, may they go forth, Lord, doing the good for your people, aligning with your word, for the good of those who are here, and Lord, for the benefit of those they serve. We bless you and we thank you. May your angels protect them. May you protect their family. May your blessing rest on them. And may your name be glorified in the work they do in this place. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Thomas. I'd like to present you with the certificate of appreciation for being with us tonight. Okay, please stand as Legislator Cruz will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. At this time, I ask that you all remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda items number 45 and 46 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item number 45 is moved by Legislator Udelson and seconded by Legislator Brew, expressing regret for the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Evangelist Rosalie Wyatt Felder, mother of former minority leader and Monroe County Legislator Vince Felder.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Evangelist Rosalie Wyatt Felder, mother of former minority leader and Monroe County Legislator Vincent Felder. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Evangelist Rosalie Wyatt Felder, mother of former minority leader and Monroe County Legislator Vincent Felder. And whereas Rosalie passed away October 10, 2024, at the age of 83. And whereas Rosalie was born on June 25, 1941 in Lawrenceville, Virginia, to James Edward and Maddie Lee Wyatt. She graduated from James Solomon Russell High School in 1959 and later moved to New York, where she met and married the love of her life, Harvey Felder, on October 28, 1960. Together, they created a loving home and were blessed with 6 children. And whereas Rosalie's life was one of deep faith and service to her community. In 1966, she accepted Jesus Christ as her Savior and was an active member of New Covenant Temple Church of God in Christ, later becoming a licensed missionary evangelist. She served faithfully in many roles, including as District Unity Leader for the D.H. Green Memorial District and prayer warrior in the Eastern New York 3rd Jurisdiction. Her dedication was recognized with the Jurisdictional Pioneer Award. And whereas beyond her church service, Rosalie worked for 27 years in the Roosevelt Public Schools, where she impacted countless young lives. She began her career in pre-K and continued at Ulysses Bias Elementary School until her retirement in 1998. Rosalie's influence extended further through her work with the Gospel Ambassador on his Gospel Time radio program and various community roles, including as a poll worker. And whereas Rosalie's greatest joy was her family, she lovingly raised her children and generously helped care for 2 of her grandchildren and 2 nieces. She leaves behind her children, Darius Wilson, Harvey Felder, Kevin and Vera Felder, and Vincent Felder, as well as her siblings, 13 grandchildren, 18 great-grandchildren, and a host of extended family and friends who will cherish her memory. And whereas Rosalie will be fondly remembered for her steadfast faith, her boundless kindness, and her heartfelt commitment to her family and community, leaving a legacy that will be cherished by all who had the honor of knowing her. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Agenda item number 46 is moved by legislator Udelson and seconded by legislator Brew, expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Roger W. Dunham, father-in-law of Monroe County Legislator Robert J. Colby.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Roger W. Demon, father-in-law of Monroe County Legislator Robert J. Colby. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Roger W. Demon, father-in-law of Monroe County Legislator Robert J. Colby. And whereas Roger passed away on October 10th, 2024, at the age of 86. Whereas Roger was born on September 1st, 1938 in Niagara Falls, New York. He grew up on his family's dairy farm in Ransomville, where he developed a lifelong passion for agriculture, becoming known as a jack of all trades due to his vast knowledge and skills. And whereas Roger dedicated his career to farming, managing the family farm until his retirement in 1997. Beyond his work, he was a lover of the outdoors and an avid water skier in his younger years. Roger took pride in planting trees on his property each year, and he was an enthusiast of antique tractors, spending countless hours restoring them and sharing his collection with others. And whereas deeply committed to his community, Roger served with honor as a lifelong member of the South Wilson Fire Company. He was widely admired for his friendly nature, his storytelling ability, and his willingness to teach friends and neighbors the game of euchre, bringing joy to many. And whereas Roger was predeceased by his parents, Chester Demon and Mary Duxbury Demon, his cherished daughter, Darylyn, and his brother, John. He is survived by his loving wife, Joanna, his daughters, Darcy, Darlene, and Deanna, and his grandchildren, Alexis and Shannon, his brothers, Howard and Stuart, numerous nieces, nephews, great-nieces, and great-nephews, all of whom will carry on his legacy. And whereas Roger will be remembered for his generosity, kindness, and dedication to his family and community, his presence will be missed dearly by all who knew and loved him. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby requested to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Your copies of Day 10, October 8th, 2024 are now available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. We do have one announcement today. On behalf of everyone in the room, I'd like to thank and take a moment to thank Carlton Huff, our second assistant deputy, for his time and service with us in the legislature. This is Carlton's last meeting with us, so thank you, Carlton. We will wish you all the best, and you will be missed. Thank you. We'll now move on to presentations of petitions and communications. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Novus Agenda as well as online. There are several proclamations scheduled for this evening. Mr. Clerk?
Would Norm Silverstein please come forward? Also, legislators Rachel Barnhart, Michael Udelson, President Yaversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Norm Silverstein, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas, attendant to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor Norm Silverstein for his decades of service and leadership at WXXI. And whereas, before joining WXXI, Norm Silverstein was the Senior Vice President of Administration for Maryland Public Television. Before working in public media, Norm was a correspondent in Washington, D.C., and served as a deputy press secretary and senior aide to former Governor of Maryland, Harry Hughes. And whereas, Norm chairs the Finance Committee of the New York State Broadcasters Association. He is the former chair of the Association of Public Broadcasting Stations of New York and Public Television Affinity Group Coalition, a former board member of America's Public Television Stations, and past treasurer of the Board of Greater Public. And whereas, Norm joined WXXI in 1995 when the company operated a single television station and 2 radio stations. Currently, WXXI Public Media operates 4 public television channels, 1 cable channel for the city of Rochester, and 6 radio stations. And whereas, under Norm's leadership, WXXI has produced more than 30 documentaries focused on Rochester and its vibrant history and culture, gained more than 65 New York State Broadcasters Association awards, 50 Telly Awards, 19 New York Emmy Awards, and 12 Edward R. Murrow Awards. And whereas, Norm Silverstein has been committed to providing the people of Rochester and Monroe County with television and radio that would positively impact their lives. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Eversha Roman, President, Rachel Barnhart, Legislator, District 17, and Michael Udelson, Legislator, District 13, do hereby honor Norm Silverstein on this 12th day of November, 2024.
I didn't remember doing all that. Well, thank you for this honor. It really is makes this night very special for us, and I thank all of you really for the support we got, for what we did at WXXI, for helping us save the little theater, which I think might have been one of the smartest things I ever did, and also what we did in saving City News. So thank you all, and I may be retiring, but I'm still going to be around, and we promise, my wife and I, will be here and continuing to work to bring the community together. And thank you.
Would the representative for Dr. Maya Dorset, Maverick Greek Rouse, please come forward? Also, legislators Steve Brew, Blake Keller, Virginia McIntyre, Rose Bonnick, Robert Colby, and President Eversha Roman.
Whereas Dr. Maya Dorset, an accomplished EMS physician and educator in upstate New York, has been named the 2024 EMS Medical Director of the Year by the National Association of EMTs, recognizing her outstanding contributions to emergency medical services as the medical director for the Gates Volunteer Ambulance Service, serving the communities of Gates, Ogden, and Parma. And whereas Dr. Dorset's career is distinguished by her dedication to advancing EMS through quality improvement and the establishment of high standards that prioritize both patient care and provider well-being, and through her leadership has propelled Gates Volunteer Ambulance to be one of the most advanced EMS systems in the nation. And whereas Dr. Dorset completed her emergency medicine residency and EMS fellowship at Washington University in St. Louis, where she discovered her passion for EMS and subsequently joined the Department of Emergency Medicine at the University of Rochester Medical Center, where she continues to influence the EMS field through her numerous roles. And whereas Dr. Dorset's impact extends beyond Monroe County, influencing the future of EMS at both state and national levels through her service on the boards of the National Association of EMS Physicians and the National Registry of EMTs, as well as her role as medical director for Prodigy EMS, an online learning platform. And whereas Dr. Dorset's peers recognize her as a transformative leader whose work continues to inspire excellence in EMS by supporting continuous learning, education, and improvement, creating a lasting impact that moves us all to strive for better each and every day. Now, therefore, we, Iversha Roman, President, Steve Brew, Republican Leader, Blake Keller, Legislator District 1, Virginia McIntyre, Legislator District 4, Paul Dondorfer, Legislator District 9, and Robert Colby, Legislator District 20. On behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Dr. Maya Dorsett for her exceptional contributions to emergency medical services, her dedication to the health and safety of our community, and her national recognition as a leader in EMS.
Dr. Dorsett regrets that she cannot be here, but she's actually teaching in Ohio right now. So thank you very much. She's the best.
Well said.
Would members of the children's agenda please come forward? Also, Legislator Mercedes Vasquez Simmons and President Iversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes the children's agenda, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas attendance to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor the children's agenda for their 20 years of service and advocacy for the children and families of Monroe County and the greater Rochester area. And whereas the children's agenda was incorporated in 2004 when they completed the first analysis of the county's budget impact on children. And whereas the Children's Agenda, TCA, expanded their work in 2008 when they completed their first analysis of the city's budget impact on children. The organization extended their advocacy to Albany, where they testified for the first time before the governor's Economic Security Cabinet. And whereas the advocacy of TCA led to $5.4 million increase in funding for childcare subsidies in the 2010 county budget, allowing 800 more children to receive subsidies. In 2017, TCA helped secure $4.75 million in early childhood support to help 1,100 families in Rochester. And whereas the Children's Agenda is comprised of effective leaders that have served in various capacities. In 2016, TCA CEO was elected chair of the National Partnership for America's Children. In 2018, TCA CEO was named to the governor's Child Care Availability Task Force, and in 2022, TCA's policy director was named to New York State Child Poverty Reduction Advisory Council. And whereas the Children's Agenda's advocacy has included joining steering committees and campaigns such as the Kids Can't Wait campaign that calls for reforms, improvements, and investments to New York State early intervention and preschool special education systems. This advocacy led to New York State's first early intervention rate increases in decades that will impact 65,000 children annually. And whereas the Children's Agenda has remained committed to advocating for and bringing real solutions to children and families over the last 20 years, positively impacting our community. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Iversha Roman, President, and Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Vice President, do hereby honor the Children's Agenda on this 12th day of November, 2024.
Thank you. We're throwing a party next Thursday to celebrate the 20th anniversary. You're all welcome at the Strong Museum of Play. We don't really do events much, but wanted to mark this occasion. And we're really grateful for our long partnership with you all to work on issues like childcare, like preschool special education, like home visiting, and early intervention. We've made some significant progress thanks to the decisions that are made here. We believe children aren't an isolated atomic unit. They're nestled in families. Families are in neighborhoods and communities, and the policy and funding decisions that shape those neighborhoods and those communities happen in part here. And that's our mission at the Children's Agenda, to help make those the best that they possibly can be for the next generation. 1 million neurons per second formed by children before they reach age 5, just an incredible, miraculous thing about brain development. And apparently brains aren't developed until you're fully 23. So look forward to a 23 anniversary at some point. Anyway, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all of your work to help make the next generation in Monroe County a successful and happy one. Thanks.
Okay, there are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for the public forum. We ask that everyone maintain decorum during this time. We will not tolerate any disruptions during this meeting from the gallery. A second warning will be issued before a deputy will be asked to remove you from the gallery. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Maggie Symington, Paul Forsella, Terrence Schnurr.
Good evening. I'm back to reiterate my request to discontinue opening prayers at legislative sessions, especially after today's invocation, mistakenly calling this a sacred space. According to the county minutes of the 90 legislative meetings since January 2020, 49 were opened by spoken prayer and 41 by silent prayer. Of the spoken prayers, 94% have been Christian and 6% Jewish. When I asked my legislator if I could give a secular invocation, I was told that only ordained ministers with congregations are invited. I found 2 times in 2020 that don't seem to conform to your rule. In June, a legislator who was the executive director of a temple, and in August, the Reverend Raquel Serrano of something called Parachurch Hand Foundation. It doesn't appear from Googling that she is an ordained minister or that the organization she represents is a congregation. This country is supposed to have separation of church and state, but the Supreme Court ruled in Greece versus Galloway that opening prayers are permitted and should be implemented in a non-discriminatory process. I implore you not to waste your time and taxpayer dollars on a new process, but instead to disband the practice. Otherwise, you should be prepared for the experience of Ottawa County, Michigan, when the Satanic Temple gave their invocation. Predictably, the same Christians who demand tolerance of their prayers by the rest of us were most intolerant of that opening prayer and made the news in the process. Let the town of Greece be your inspiration. They abandoned the practice in 2020. I'll close by asking you 3 things. 1, when a minister asks God to give you guidance, if you don't all come to the same conclusion and vote unanimously, does that mean that the minister's God ignored the plea, or that the minister's God gave some of you contrary instructions, or that some of you went against God's will? For those 41 sessions that weren't opened by a prayer, was this legislative body any less effective or more paralyzed for lack of intervention by an invisible and imaginary power? If not, then aren't opening prayers purely performative, in which case dispensing with them is the most prudent course of action? Thank you.
Rochester, New York is facing serious problems. There are panhandlers, some aggressive and dangerous. Bikes and scooters of all kinds are invading the sidewalks. Homelessness remains a serious problem too. I have seen city parking enforcement people using foul language. I've also seen mentally ill people who are aggressive, roaming city streets. And the police refuse to act to address the problem. In addition, I have seen Monroe County employees who park their vehicles in no parking zones and use their position as an excuse to park illegally. All of this must be addressed without delay.
Good evening, Madam President, legislators. Even drivers who are being stupid, feeling self-important, or having a bad day know what to do when they see flashing lights in their mirror. Nobody ignores lights and siren for more than half a mile, mostly on quiet residential streets, without a reason. There is one reason, and only one reason, why anybody would ever do that. A considered belief that the consequences of stopping exceed those of not stopping. We will never know what Sandra Dorley put into her lunch bag and then put inside her house where the police cannot go without a warrant. But every day that she refuses to accept that the price of that secret is her job, she does additional harm to this county and the criminal justice system. And every day that any non-judicial elected official in this county remains complicit and refuses to publicly and directly call for her resignation, they do additional damage to their already teetering credibility. You know enough. You have known enough for more than 6 months. On a separate note, I would like to note that not a single one of the criminals who disrupted last December's meeting was arrested and charged. Yet, over the past 11 months, this county has repeatedly engaged in measures that are not intended to increase security, but to show power and to deny and discourage people from exercising their constitutional and statutory rights. Why is Sandra Doyley still Monroe County's district attorney? I don't have a good answer for that, and neither do you. Thank you, and have a good night.
Our next three speakers are Kevin Lockhart, Michelle Wireman, and John Brophy.
Good evening. I just wanted to say that I just wanted to thank Jesus for the liberty provided by his grace through the sacrifice of Jesus. Sorry. And I want to just point out that, in my opinion, the children's agenda is a total, complete fraud. The RCSD, effectively a child trafficking scheme. And I think we're approaching, just a couple of reflections, approaching the bicentennial of Rochester. I think that when all is said and done in our history and our legacy as a city, we're not going to be remembered by the art or the innovation or the inventions or anything other of that sort. I think we're going to be remembered as a city that exploited the taxpayers of Rochester, prevented them from accessing the Board of Elections, elected offices, prevented them from having school districts, safe neighborhoods, and all of the things that you would expect a county taxpayer to have. Why? Because it partially has to do with how this legislature is set up, how the Board of Elections is structured, 190-year-old policies, the city charter in Rochester. But one thing is certain, it's not going to change anytime in the near future because of the racist, immoral prejudice that this legislature exploits their residents through. So the taxpayers have a certain right to many things. School districts, sheriff's patrols, every day, the same places, 14-year-old getting shot, 16-year-old getting shot, they're shooting at each other. You all know who this is. You all know their families. You all know it's the same corners. But you pull the resources, you marginalize the taxpayers in Rochester, and you don't even have them let them have basic things you would expect a neighborhood to have. It's sickening, actually. I wish the whole electorate were here today. I wish I could talk to the city, those people. I think very lowly of them. I wish I could talk to the school districts and the school boards as well. I'll be back next month. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Weirman, and I am a resident of Penfield. My family and I moved to Monroe County area 2 years ago after having lived in Texas for 4 years, and we absolutely love living in Monroe County. So kind of an opposite perspective, we really like where we are. And we're so thankful that you have passed the Climate Action Plan. While in Texas, we experienced firsthand some of the effects of climate change. In just 4 years, we had an increase in average temperatures, longer periods of heat, water shortages, which were very difficult on us and impacted our daily life. So moving here was like a breath of fresh air, for real. We are thankful that you have passed the Climate Action Plan, but I ask you to do more to support it. Because you're already being proactive and aggressive with your focus on climate change policy, it would be great if we could strengthen that. I ask that you hire climate professionals and create a line item in the budget that will support this by having professionals that will work together to sort of lead forward on some of that action plan. Personally, as a member of Color Penfield Green, I also ask that you move beyond the research phase on recycling of organic waste and establish composting centers in locations throughout our county. I don't know if you've ever tried composting in your backyard, but it's a hot mess if you don't know what you're doing, and your neighbors don't love you for it. And so I think it benefits all of our communities when we can actually do this in a professional, modern, efficient way. And it's already being done in Henrietta, and that's been an action plan to try to improve this situation. I think that part of that is we have this idea that it can be messy or smelly or bad for our neighborhoods, but that's when it's done unprofessionally by people like myself. You don't want me composting in my yard. But if we establish places, we'll all be better off for it. So I encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Brophy. I'm a new hire at the Monroe County Office of the Public Defender. I'm here tonight asking for your support for our unionization effort. I'm here to talk to you specifically about institutional knowledge and how important that is as a collective that we build and maintain this institutional knowledge. In the 3 months that I've been working here so far, I've already experienced those at the levels above me experience tremendous burnout, and they cannot sustain it forever. And when they leave, they are taking knowledge with them. And that is knowledge that the career that I hope to build, I hope that they are there to guide me and be the mentors that I need, because although I have received a good amount of training from this office, I'm going to need more going forward, and what that means is supporting the people that are there doing the job. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Our next three speakers are Catherine Eichhorn, Kevin Yost, and Suzanne Phillips.
Good. All right, good evening. Similar to John, my name is Catherine Eichhorn, and I'm a new hire at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, and I'm also here to request that you all support our attempt to unionize. I am also a new hire. I moved here from Maryland only a couple months ago, moved back here in May, and have loved the experience that I've had so far. And currently, I came here for a training program that our office, everyone's taxpayer dollars are investing into me to be able to help our community, and I would like to continue doing that. Currently, this office is a very great foundation for my career, a career that I would love to continue here in Rochester, but would also need the ability to do so both financially and as community support. I recently found out that the DA's office starts out thousands of dollars higher than our office does when it comes to finances. They start out with a higher paycheck by over $10,000. They have parking included, can go on and on. But what matters is in 2022, Our office attempted to unionize and have still been in the process of trying to get a contract with the county. And I'm hired in 2024 and it's about to be 2025. That'll be almost 3 years since our attempt to unionize, our attempt to just get even on equal footing with others that also work from the county that are also receiving those same taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Yost, 1474 Middle Road in Top Henry. Tonight I'd like to speak about the pictures of the past county legislature presidents and past county executives. They may be running out of room for them, or at least the past county legislative presidents out in the halls, but maybe it could be room for them on the back hallway here, back wall here, side wall here. I know when I first came in this room, in this building in spring of 1987, a school field trip in the 5th grade, they were long here when they had far fewer county legislature presidents, past county legislature presidents, but maybe they could be two or more rows here, and then there would be room for the past county legislature, the past county executives out in the hall, and then of course the first one being first county executive was Lucian Moore, and was also the second of 2 county managers, and then to the right of the controller's office could be a picture of Gordon A. Howe, the first of 2 county managers who this county office building is named after. In front of the county executive's office outside Main Street are 8 American flags. Perhaps 7 of them could be held in storage until the other ones are no longer usable, need to be retired. And then from east to west, U.S. flag, U.S. Army flag, U.S. Navy flag, U.S. Marine Corps flag, U.S. Air Force flag, U.S. Coast Guard flag, U.S. Space Force flag, and U.S. Merchant Marine flag in that order. And then in front of the county clerk's office, from east to west, the American flag, the New York State flag, the Monroe County flag, and then there's a space, or there is a pole where there is no flag, and on an Israeli flag and a Palestinian flag side by side for solidarity and peace and coexistence in the Middle East, and a ball replaced on the American flag. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Phillips, and I'm a 45-year resident of Charlotte. And I've come to speak with you this evening about a situation that has upset many, many of Charlotte residents and other people who enjoy the beach. There is a small group of Irish people who would like to put up an Irish memorial on the grass area that is directly to the right of the Roebuck Center. At this point, that grass area is wide open for use of the public, and we want to keep it wide open. We do not want 3,000 square feet of that taken up by a group, a specific group that is not all inclusive. Now, we have a couple of Facebook pages about this. We've received numerous comments. I've received letters and emails. We have over 100 petitions. And I'm just going to read you something from one of the people who wrote me. She's a longtime resident of Charlotte. And she says, as a longtime resident of Charlotte and someone with Irish heritage, I am deeply concerned by the inequity of using valuable public land for a private project that serves the interests of one ethnic group over the broader community. Public land is meant to serve the entire community, not to be appropriated for one particular group. There's a real concern that such a memorial would set a precedent, opening the door to further demands for public land to be claimed for the use of other groups with similar requests. Additionally, I want to emphasize that the area in question on the west side is one of the few remaining open spaces in Charlotte. It's a critical piece of the waterfront park that provides green space for families, walkers, wildlife. The west end of the park in particular is a vital place to enjoy nature and outdoor recreation. I'm also deeply concerned that this memorial does not reflect the value of inclusivity and shared community interests that our private places should embody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoops.
Our next three speakers are Gregory Lebens Higgins, Ian Phillips, and Amy D'Amico.
Hi, who do I hand these to? Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gregory Lebens Higgins. I represent the Monroe County Public Defenders Union. We, the undersigned, write in support of the Monroe County Public Defenders Union and encourage the county to negotiate a fair contract that protects existing benefits while addressing concerns of burnout prevention, caseload management, and competitive compensation. A robust public defender's office is vital to our community. On a daily basis, public defenders protect our neighbors by assuring the proper administration of justice, connecting clients with social services, and balancing systemic disparities. With an exemplary training program, the Monroe County Public Defender's Office attracts capable graduates, some of whom you've heard from tonight, from across the United States. New attorneys are skillfully instructed on criminal procedure, trial advocacy, and quality client relationships. But to build and retain institutional talent, the office must remain competitive. Public defenders are passionate champions of justice and advocates for the indigent. They do not choose their vocation for its high salary potential, but to respond to the call for public service. Yet they face the same rising costs of inflation, student loans, and the need to support their families. In Monroe County, compensation falls far below the state average, a fact compounded by pay disparity with the district attorney's office and opportunities for increased compensation as assigned counsel. Monroe County must correct these disparities. An inability to retain attorneys means expanding caseloads and an increase in burnout, exacerbating the problem. Moreover, complex felonies require experience that only comes through retention. As the Hurl Herring lawsuit recognized, with a, quote, severe imbalance in the adversary process, courts become breeding grounds for unreliable judgments. By resolving these issues with a fair contract, Monroe County has the opportunity to set the Public Defender's Office on a solid foundation as a community institution and model for offices across the state. Please sign on bit.ly/support MCPDU.
Thank you.
My name is Ian Phillips. I'm also here to support the Monroe County Public Defenders Union in our continuing now going on 3-year mission to get a successful contract from the county. I'd like to point out some language that is in the recently released proposed budget for 2025 in Monroe County, which is, quote, achieved near complete compliance with ILS case standards. Well, folks, near complete compliance with the minimum constitutional requirements for case standards is another way of saying we are not compliant with the constitutional minimum for providing indigent legal services to our community. I would ask you all in the legislature to inquire what it actually means that we're nearly compliant with those constitutional standards. How far are we from actual compliance with those standards? Those standards being a considerable part of the negotiations between our union and the county. I would also point out that we are one of the lowest paid public defender unions in upstate New York. Not counting the city, just upstate New York, one of the lowest paid. In fact, there are other counties in upstate New York where starting salaries are $20,000 higher than in this county. The district attorney's office, just up the road, starting salaries are $10,000 higher than in the public defender's office, despite the fact that we do the same type of work. I would also point out another element of this new budget that to me indicates that this county is seriously underestimating and not taking seriously its responsibility under the United States Constitution to provide indigent legal services. The district attorney's office in the new budget gets another $3 million. Our budget is being cut by $300,000. What's going on? Thank you for your time.
Good evening. All the homeless encampments I usually visit and support are gone. The ones on North Clinton, Carter Street, Seth Green, and others have been swept, destroying the evidence of the great crime of a wealthy society, homelessness. The people who lived in those tents are in most instances now either in abandoned buildings or out on the street without their things. They aren't safe, and volunteers can't easily find them or support their survival. They have been made even more homeless than they already were. You still have time to sign the request for a moratorium on homeless sweeps. Yes, encampments may creep back up following a moratorium and will remain unless or until we put real solutions in place like funded apartments and supportive services for residents, which cost money. But the county seems to have money. The Sheriff's Department is requesting an 8% raise in January, a 7.25% raise the following year, 6% in 2027, and 5% raises in 28 and 29, plus tuition, clothing, equipment allowances, and longevity pay, not including off-contract pay increases, which the budget alludes to on page 7. This will cost the county about $10 million over 5 years, over $2 million in the next year alone. Vote this down next month, legislators, and create a housing task force that is ready to get serious about ending homelessness. It will not happen through sweeps. Ending homelessness takes money, creativity, will, and commitment. We have to work towards that. Thank you.
Our next public forum speaker is Nicole Howard.
Hi, my name is Nicole Howard. I'm a Penfield resident. Today, I want to urge you to consider the establishment of composting sites across our county. As we face the daunting challenges of waste management and environmental sustainability, composting emerges as a vital solution to reduce landfill waste and enrich our soil. Composting sites provide accessible locations where residents can drop off organic waste, including food scraps and yard debris. This would alleviate the burden on our landfills and combat greenhouse gas emissions, particularly methane. Moreover, composting sites serve as community hubs for education and engagement. They offer the opportunity to teach our residents about the benefits of composting, sustainable practices, and the importance of reducing waste. Imagine community workshops, school programs, and local events centered around composting, fostering a culture of sustainability that can inspire future generations. Additionally, establishing these sites can create local jobs in waste management and green technology, stimulating our economy while promoting environmental responsibility. It's a win-win solution that aligns with our goals of reducing our carbon footprint and enhancing community resilience. I encourage you to support the establishment of composting sites across our county. By investing in this initiative, we can lead our community towards a more sustainable future, one where waste is minimized, resources are reused, and our environment is preserved for generations to come. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will recess the November 12th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and will convene the Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates, Chi-Li, Ogden Sewer District, Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District of the Pure Waters Administrative Board. If there are no objections, relating to 24-0349 for the purpose of scheduling a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024, before the Pure Waters Administrative Board and establishing a scale of charges for each district. We will move this with one introductory motion, table all districts with one vote, and fix the public hearings for each district with one vote. The clerk will see to it that each individual motion resolution numbers are assigned. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWeb agenda item numbers 1, 4, 7, and 10. Referral number 24-0349, establishing scale of charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Establishing scale of charges for Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Establishing scale of charges for Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Establishing scale of charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
PWeb agenda item numbers 2, 5, 8, and 11. Referral number 24-0349, providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. And providing that resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York, be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWeb agenda item numbers 3, 6, 9, and 12. Referral number 24-0349, fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Gates Charlie Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York. Fixing public hearing for scale of charges for Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
Moved by Legislator Bonnick, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Okay, we will now recess the Rochester Pure Waters District, Gates, Chili, Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay, South Central Pure Waters District, and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The November 12, 2024 meeting of the Legislature is reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 24-0316.LL, enacting a local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Smith Street Partners, LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York.
Moved by Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 24-0316.LL, providing that local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Smith Street Partners, LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York, be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. This is to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, that was an aye, yes.
Okay, thank you. Item carries. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 24-0316.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Smith Street Partners LLC for office space at 435 Smith Street, Rochester, New York.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? A hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 24-0341.LL, enacting local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems LLC, doing business as Verizon Wireless Telecommunications at Innovative Field.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 24-0341.LL, providing that local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems, DBA Verizon Wireless Telecommunications at Innovative Field, be tabled.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 24-0341.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled Authorizing a Lease by Negotiation with Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems, DBA Verizon Wireless Telecommunications at Innovative Field.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. We'll now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 7, referral 24-0315, confirming appointment to County of Monroe Industrial Development Agency.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Baines. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Madam President,
Yes, legislator Udelson.
I move that we consider the rest of the agenda as a whole with the exception of the following items, numbers 30, 33, and 35 through 44 inclusive.
Moved by legislator Udelson, second by legislator Brew. All in favor? Or I'm sorry, any
Aye.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Move to item number 30.
Item number 30. Item number 30, referral 24-0338, confirming appointment of Commissioner of Public Health.
Moved by legislator Hasman, seconded by legislator Vasquez Simmons. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Brown, with the incoming Trump administration and statements that have been made about vaccines, fluoride in water, medication used by transgender people, what role do you think that you have in standing against policies that could hurt Monroe County residents and set back public health?
Through the chair, our department is concerned with improving the health and the environment for every resident, every visitor, every business in Monroe County. So some of your questions are specific to treatment for transgender individuals. That is clinical care directed to one individual patient. And so our clinics focus on protecting the population, so groups of people. We don't have any clinics that actually provide that type of direct one-on-one treatment, with the exception of providing primary care for children involved in the foster care system at Starlight Pediatrics. But again, that is a general primary care practice. We don't offer that particular type of treatment. We do have an immunization clinic, which provides safety net vaccinations and takes COVID and flu vaccines out to homeless shelters and many other areas where we are, again, trying to take care of populations that are often overlooked, underserved. And so I am hopeful that we will continue to maintain federal and state funding to provide that kind of population care. And certainly in my specific role, I will be happy to educate any and everyone about the importance of maintaining that kind of funding so that we don't regress and start to see even further resurgence in conditions like pertussis and measles, as we've already started to see a rise. But our staff are going to continue to do that work as long as we are able, and we are grateful to have the support of the county administration and many other community partners that can then advocate in a more direct way that I specifically cannot, but we will certainly do our part to educate lawmakers or anyone else about the importance of maintaining those kinds of services.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. I just have two other questions. Through the president to Dr. Velez de Brown. Do you support telehealth visits for newborns?
Philosophically, generally, in some settings, yes. Certainly there is an important need to connect with new parents who go home with a bundle of joy that didn't come with an instruction manual. And so there is often a need to have support. It can take various forms. Certainly if one is on the positive side of the digital divide and can engage in a telehealth visit that can save time and transportation. There is also a very strong case to be made for in-home, in-person visitation with various levels of trained personnel, whether that's a community health worker or a bachelor's level trained nurse, as our Nurse Family Partnership Program is an exemplar of. Because there are some things you just can't see, you can't notice on a telehealth visit. We've had some of our home visiting nurses notice there's no food in the cupboards or in the fridge and then make referrals for food insecurity. We've noticed that perhaps not the patient, but another member of the house has some pretty significant unexplained bruising. Do we need to make a referral to domestic violence supporting agencies? So philosophically, I am certainly in support of any kind of assistance we can give to new parents, but it certainly can take various forms.
Through the president to Dr. Velez de Brown, it's my understanding that we're going to be spending $2 million of ARPA funding on newborn visitation. Do you support telehealth being part of that program? We have not been asked to approve it, so I don't know what's in it, but I'm just asking if you support telehealth being part of that.
Through the president.
President.
Sorry, through the president, thank you. We're not at committee meeting. Through the president, telehealth could be one tool that could be used, but I don't think it needs to be the exclusive tool.
The president to Dr. Velez de Brown, it's my understanding that staff protested at the health department, telehealth being part of this program right before Dr. Mendoza left. Were you part of that group that raised concerns about telehealth being part of newborn visitation?
Madam President, I don't think it's appropriate to ask questions based on rumor and hearsay, especially the relevance to Dr. Velez de Brown's qualifications.
Oh, this directly relates to how she would perform her job and her willingness to advocate for certain policies. So I think it is relevant, but, you know, she did answer.
Yes.
She did answer what I was interested in knowing, which was that telehealth would be part of this, even though the staff complained about it right before Dr. Mendoza left. I don't have any other
Madam President, I would just like to say, I don't think
Yes,
it's
thank
fair
you
to
very
ask
much.
her to comment on rumors.
I think
Thank you.
that was the end of the questioning. Thank you very much. All right, Legislator Hasman. One day.
Dr. Velez de Brown, I was wondering if you could talk about your philosophy or what you think the role public health plays in mental health.
Such an important question. Through the president, public health is concerned about the health and well-being of entire groups of population, and I think even prior to COVID, there was already perhaps a more easily hidden concern, a widespread concern for mental health. And so my philosophy is absolutely to work closely with our colleagues in the Office of Mental Health. And I think the public health approach is one of taking a data-driven look at a problem and convene relevant agencies, individuals, advocates that can bring all of their ideas together and then together form a solution that fits a specific community. And so I think that philosophy will be critically important as we continue to address any number of different mental health challenges. But that same philosophy can be applied to any number of the kind of thorny issues that are facing our county.
I have two more questions. Madam President, to Dr. Velez de Brown. A couple months ago, we voted to fund a study with Cure Violence, which takes public health approaches to violence prevention. How do you anticipate working with this group?
Through the president with the legislature, you mean?
With Cure Violence.
Oh, with Cure Violence, yes. So I've been very pleased thus far with the work that we've been able to do with the consultants that we brought in through Cure Violence. This entity has a pretty deep experience in working with community members on the issue of community, often gun-related violence. And so we have been working with them to establish relationships with other agencies and community partners that are doing the boots on the ground work of intervening with families after a shooting, of getting to know the neighborhoods and trying to intervene before a shooting takes place. We have been able to, with that consultant, meet some of our university partners that have been doing research, speaking with our hospital colleagues who are taking care of the victims of these types of violence. And so they've been helpful in helping us coordinate that kind of learning phase. And we are working with them to bring all that information together to help decide exactly how my department is going to contribute to this area and partner with others that have been working in this space for a lot longer than we have. So we're doing a lot of learning and listening with them and under their guidance. And then I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to finally come together and decide exactly where my department can be most supportive.
President, to Dr. Velez de Brown. Monroe County is no exception to the national problem of health inequities and health disparities. And I was wondering how you think your department can address those problems here.
Yes, through the president, I think that it is my intention for myself and other members of my department to take a public health lens and perspective and bring it to conversations around any number of different topics. So I think you're alluding to the social drivers or determinants of health. So our staff have been members of our MAPI and addressing poverty. We work very closely with schools, K through 12 schools, in distributing and analyzing and then publishing the Youth Behavioral Risk Survey. So we already have some staff that are sitting at key tables and can help think about bringing both an evidence-based and population lens, but also a lot of our work in public health also focuses very intentionally on those that have been underserved, left behind, that have not been maybe included in previous research. And so whenever we focus on those that are most impacted and take a systems or a policy level response, that often benefits the entire population, even folks that don't fit in those particular populations. So I very much look forward to taking that unfunded mandate and sometimes inviting ourselves, sometimes finding ways to be invited to those tables to talk about poverty and education and racism and violence and all these other domains that have a much more significant impact on whether someone's going to develop illness or be able to maintain a healthy life.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Vasquez-Simmons.
Legislator, will you just use the microphone there?
Madam President, to Dr. Velez Brown, there's been concerns about how COVID and other health concerns information have reached the Latino community and other minority communities. What is your plan to address some of these concerns?
Yes, linguistic access is a huge need, and there is plenty of space for improvement in so many areas. So I personally served as one of the earliest Spanish-speaking contact tracers during COVID, and we have made a concerted effort throughout, not just COVID, but ever since then, to increase the amount of translation services that we use and shorten the time between say, a release of a new brochure and the release of the translation. We are always interested in hiring staff that are bilingual. We worked very hard to find, for example, an ASL fluent contact tracer during COVID, but the need to be able to make health information available and accessible to folks in their heart language, in their native tongue, is absolutely paramount. And so we, any of our clinics are required under certain articles of law to provide care in a person's native tongue, and we have always taken that requirement and broadened it to the rest of the programs in my department. But we certainly have worked very closely with the Empire Justice Center to find out from the community exactly where their perception is of any gaps in our services, and we've been working to address those. And that's certainly a priority. That was a priority before we were required to create a language access plan for the county, and certainly we've obviously done that and codified a lot of the practices that we already had, but that is absolutely a priority that will continue.
Legislator Baines, and then.
Madam President, I'd like to explain my vote. I'm so delighted to have had the opportunity on a Zoom call to really engage in the same way that we have tonight with the doctor. And I'm concerned I'm not going to pronounce her name properly, so I'm going to say the doctor. But I'm stunned by how prepared she is, how thrilled I am that we have her as our candidate. Her curriculum vitae is extraordinary, and she's an in-house candidate who speaks so eloquently, extraordinarily in command of every aspect of this job, and I've rarely voted with more enthusiasm than I will for this nomination. I want to share that. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Legislator Baines. Any other discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
I'm very concerned with Dr. Velez Brown's ability to push back on the administration when she directives. I'm concerned that she supports newborn telehealth visitation that has no evidence to support it, an issue the staff had raised concerns about previously. I look forward to details on that program when we are eventually asked to authorize it. And I hope when necessary, Dr. Velez Brown, you do stand up against harmful policies, no matter who is trying to get you to implement them. I encourage you to be your own person and step strongly into a leadership role. I'm very impressed with your qualifications, and I wish you a lot of success in this position.
Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator McIntyre.
Support of this referral, and I'd like to explain my vote, especially because about a year and a half ago today, I was, just like many of the people in the audience here, I came forward to speak about this particular appointment for another individual. So I am pleased to support the appointment of Dr. Velez de Brown as Monroe County's Commissioner of Public Health. Her exceptional skill set, deep dedication, and extensive experience make her an ideal candidate for this critical role. During her time as acting commissioner, Dr. Velez de Brown has proven her leadership by guiding our Department of Public Health through this significant transitions. She has not only ensured stability, but has set a strong foundation for a new era of public health in Monroe County, an era that I am eager to support. In our discussions with Dr. Velez de Brown's, Dr. Velez de Brown's commitment to tackling pressing issues like the opioid crisis, advancing educational programming, and driving the Cure Violence Initiative stand out. As we enter this new chapter, I look forward to working collaboratively with Dr. Velez de Brown to ensure that Monroe County's public health initiatives serve our residents effectively, balancing community needs with the core principles that define our society. On top of this, she has no other professional commitments, and that actually gives me much more peace of mind in voting yes to this appointment. But in addressing today's health challenges, we must always remain mindful of the freedoms and rights of our residents, rights that our residents cherish, aiming for public health solutions that both protect and empower the individuals they serve. This balance is crucial to building trust and ensuring that our public health efforts resonate positively within our communities, and I look forward to working with our new commissioner to ensure this, especially when it comes to transparency with the legislature as far as measures that are taken. With that, I am proud to vote in favor of Dr. Velez de Brown's appointment as our Public Health Commissioner, and I encourage all my colleagues to join me in voting yes, and I yield the floor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Item number 33, referral number 24-0342, authorizing beneficiary agreements with nonprofits pursuant to American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Moved by Legislator Mufucci, second by Legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Legislator Smith.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I rise to make a motion. As we stated at committees, it is our conference's belief that should public funds go to nonprofits, they should focus on providing essential services like housing, food, job training, just like so many in the referral rightly do. However, a group like Metro Justice, which primarily exists to engage in partisan political advocacy, does not. We should never use taxpayer dollars to fund political activism. Public money must be allocated to organizations that unite the community and not divide it. Funding should be reserved for organizations that provide measurable, direct services to the public, not funding groups with a track record of promoting diversive rhetoric political movements that many in our community strongly disagree. In short, we must protect the integrity of nonprofit funding, ensuring that it goes to organizations that truly benefit the entire community and all members of this community, rather than a select few of a certain viewpoint. Therefore, I make a motion to amend and strike out Metro Justice of Rochester from the referral and reallocate those funds to the much deserving Veterans Outreach Center.
Second.
Motion by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Colby, Milne, Heller, McCabe, Chardy. We're going to stop there if that's okay. Thank you. All in favor? Well,
Is there discussion on the
any
amendment?
discussion on the motion? Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
On the amendment?
That too. Yes. Yes. Legislator Baines.
Through you, Madam President, I believe there were legislators who put this together, this proposal that is thought to be amended. Through you to the administration, who were the legislators who sat at the table and put Exhibit A together with the administration?
Administration.
Through the president, the selection committee was included Legislator Burgess and Legislator Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Baines. Legislator Smith.
As a participant on the selection committee, I did not have solely the power to remove one certain organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Yes, Legislator Mafucci.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to the person who could ever answer this question. I believe there was a formula that was used to distribute these funds. Is this change legal?
Through the president, I'm hesitant to give a legal opinion in a public meeting, but I'll note that grant funding is at the discretion of the legislature. This is not a contract or a decision being made, an administrative decision being made. The legislature has discretion when giving out this grant.
I have one follow-up question. Through you, Madam President, to the administration. So rather than use the word legal, is the formula that's now going to be used for the VOC proper?
Through the president, there is a standard percentage that was given to each of the aggregate salaries listed in the entity's 990. I'll note this percentage is higher, but I guess I'm hesitant to say it's outside the requirements of ARPA. We have to provide a proportional response to the negative impact of COVID-19. So with that, legislator, I'm hesitant to say this is out of compliance with those requirements.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Udelson. Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to explain my vote in support of the amendment, and I'll first start by just following up on the question that Legislator Mafucci just asked about the formula, and would just note that although the amounts are calculated based on salaries, that the first 4, 5, 6 on the list are all being given the same amount, even though obviously don't all have the same salary amount, so it's not purely per the formula. As far as the change, as I expressed in committees, I was concerned when I saw the list about an organization of Metro Justice that is a political advocacy group being on the list versus providing direct services. And I think the substitution with the Veterans Outreach Center is most appropriate because we all are aware of the services they provide, the important services they provide.
Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Baines.
View to the, put the Exhibit A together for the administration. Are there any other on the list who are 501c4? I know that, I believe that Metro Justice is a 501c3 and a 501c4. Are there any other groups that fit that profile?
Through the president, I do not believe so. I believe it's just Metro Justice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Barnhart.
President Roman, I wasn't sure when to explain my vote, but I'll just do it right now. This $6 million fund was part of a nearly $30 million American Rescue Plan Act package that we passed a few months ago. During committee meetings and the full legislature, I was not able to ask all of the questions I had about that big package. There was a lot of resistance to questions. In fact, I was insulted and attacked for having valid questions and criticisms. And I was repeatedly told when I asked questions in this chamber that this package was carefully negotiated and nothing could be changed because a deal is a deal. Well, I now wonder just how carefully this package was negotiated and vetted. Because one of the questions I was able to ask was how the $6 million would be distributed. None of this is a surprise to me. It was clear to me that any qualifying nonprofit could apply. There was no criteria about how the money would be used. And also, I would just say this is another example of how we should not consider such big spending packages as one up or down vote. If we had voted on each ARPA award individually in 2022, I don't think we would have had the problems we later saw. So I'm going to vote no on the amendment, yes on all of the organizations, because it's what I voted on before, and as I was told back then, a deal is a deal.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote on the amendment. Mr. Edelson. Mr. Edelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
No.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes no. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley.
No.
Mr. Blankley votes no. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes no. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes no. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer.
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes no. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith is excused. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes no. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
No.
President Roman votes no. 15-13, motion to amend passes. Back to the main motion, as amended.
Yes, Legislator Burgess. Need a second. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Motion to recess for 5 minutes. It was moved by Legislator Burgess and seconded by Legislator Delvecchio Hoffman. This is a motion to recess. Mr. Edelson. Mr. Edelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Yes.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley.
Yes.
Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess.
Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer.
No.
Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith is excused. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. And President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 15 to 13. Motion to recess passes.
5-minute recess.
Huh?
I think you're just going to the restroom.
We will call the legislature back to session. Okay, welcome back. We are now back on the main motion
As amended.
as amended. Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, I appreciate you allowing the legislature to have an hour to come in and review all of the referrals that were submitted, or the RFPs that were submitted for this referral. But I noticed that we were not given any kind of information with regard to the 25 agencies that were not approved for funding. And it was quite honestly disappointing. There were 6 binders of material that we had 1 hour to look through. I spent my hour looking through the approved referrals and didn't have time to look through pages and pages and pages of information to figure out why each one was not approved. I did ask for that information. I've yet to receive it. I was told by Legislator Smith that that information was available to the selection committee, so I'm not sure why it could not have been made available. So I guess that's my question. Do we have a listing of that information, and is there a reason why it wasn't either available for us the day that we were given time to go down and review the RFPs? Is there a reason why it's being kept secret?
Madam President, if I could just say one thing, and then Laura Smith would answer the rest of it. I don't think there was an hour time limit given. We didn't put any restrictions on how long someone, it's not like we set a timer and said you have an hour and that's it, you have to leave. So, and I'll let.
We were given 1 hour time slots. And I had to take out time for my work day because they were all during the day hours.
Okay, that wasn't our intention to limit anybody to an hour, and I'm not aware if anybody else had that same issue or same problem. If that is the case,
Quite
I
honestly would have
apologize.
taken me days to go through 6 binders
okay,
of
thank you.
hundreds of pages of material.
Through the chair, through the president, in most part, the reason that an entity was not eligible is because they did not have a physical location within a qualified census tract. Beyond that, it would be an entity by entity determination of what deemed them ineligible, but we could provide that to you in writing.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that. My frustration is that we're being asked to vote on that tonight. I did ask for that information. I guess our staff asked for it on Friday. So I guess to explain my vote, I will be voting yes on this referral so as not to deny the good agencies that are on this list from the funding. However, I guess I just want to voice my displeasure at not being provided that information at the time we came down. We're given time to come down and review the information that we were being asked to vote on tonight. And I guess in the future, if we could be given all information, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Barnhart.
Through the president to the administration, just piggybacking off of Legislator DeFlorio, I was also disappointed that the binders didn't say why entities were disapproved. There were some heavy-hitting entities in there that were surprising to me that they wouldn't qualify, such as Strong Museum, Trillium Health, Empire Justice Center, his branches, House, Dimitri House. I mean, some of these definitely have locations in qualified census tract and would appear to do the majority of their work there. So I'm also interested in an explanation for why these 24 organizations did not get funding, but it's not going. I'm still going to vote yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, voting on the motion as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
It'll be on item number 35, referral number 24-0344, confirming appointments to the Monroe County Water Authority.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Mufucci. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator
Move
Baines.
to divide the question and address the three nominations as individual entities.
Second, moved by legislator Baines, seconded by legislator Barnhart and Vasquez Simmons.
That was a motion to sever?
To divide the question. Same. Yep.
Motion to sever?
Okay. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote on the motion to sever. Mr. Udelson? Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes no. Ms. Barnhart? Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy?
No.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes no. Mr. Baines? Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley?
Yes.
Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick? Bonnick votes no. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes no. Mr. Chardy? Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes no. Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz votes no. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Mrs. DeFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer?
No.
Mr. Dondorfer votes no. Mr. Frazier? Mr. Frazier votes no. Ms. Hasman? Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hugh Smith is excused. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes no. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes no. Mr. Mafucci? Mr. Mafucci votes no. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes no. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes no. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes no. Mr. Sinclair? Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes no. Ms. Vasquez Simmons? Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman?
No.
President Roman votes no. Motion to sever fails 7-21.
Thank you. We're back to the main motion. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator Baines.
I'd like to explain my vote. I can't vote for continuing current past behavior of the political.
Yes, legislator Rachel. I'm sorry, Barnhart.
It's okay, I can be legislator Rachel. Thank you. I would also like to explain my vote. And some of this is tough to say. I was a reporter in the 2000s during what were the bad old days for the Water Authority, when it was racked by scandal after scandal. There was even a grand jury report that called for term limits of board members and a change in the way we handle those appointments. It's well documented that for years, this body shut out Democrats from serving on the Water Authority Board, violating the spirit of state law. The grand jury made it clear that a balance is needed, and the board should reflect the diversity of the community. Right now, the board does not reflect our community, and if this appointment passes, it still won't. There are 3 Conservative Party members on a 7-member board. The Conservative Party makes up less than 2% of our county's registered voters, and all 3 board members are Conservative Party officials. That doesn't happen by coincidence. It's been 15 years since that grand jury report, which I covered, and we finally have a chance to move past the corruption of the past. And yet we're being asked to keep a Conservative Party official in this position for reasons that do not pass the smell test. You're telling me that the best and only qualified person in this entire county to handle this position is the vice chair
of the Conservative Party. And let's be clear, the Conservative Party is against abortion rights, LGBTQ and transgender rights, and union rights, among other things. And we're supposed to believe that Democratic leadership in this county wants to reward one of its officers? And let's also be clear that this isn't just about partisanship, this is also about good governance. I don't believe this appointment is about continuity or leadership. It's about the fact that Scott Naska holds significant political power, and that power influences who gets the Conservative Party line on the ballot. That power matters, and making nice with him, even for Democrats, can pay off. And I know some in this room are hoping for that payoff in the form of future political support. And there doesn't need to be an explicit arrangement for that to be true. The fact is, NASCA has an inherent conflict of interest. I'd have a problem if this was a Democratic Party official too. We should not be using board appointments as a tool for cronyism. There is a term for this. It is called government sleaze, legal but wrong. And if it wasn't sleazy, we wouldn't be forced into a position where we either have to vote for government sleaze or vote against two good appointments. The way this was packaged shows a deep lack of respect for legislators in the community, especially the voters who put us in charge. We promised not to do things this way, and here we are. This deal is straight out of the sewer, and it continues a shameful legacy at the Water Authority, and because of that, I am voting an emphatic no.
Legislator Cruz.
I will rise to explain my vote. As a current union member, I believe to always stand with those that stand with us. I cannot possibly think about putting politics over people and the workers that do the work in the Water Authority. And when we have workers that work in said organization telling us that this is the way to go, that they like how things are going, that the work environment has improved, and they like the way that leadership is managing, I have to look at the people who are going to be affected by the decision that we're all going to be making today. And for that reason, I rise to vote yes.
Thank you, Legislator Cruz. Legislator Mafucci.
Madam President, I also would like to explain my vote. When I was elected to the legislature in 2017, it was clear to me that most of what went on was partisan. And it wasn't really a good thing. And I will be supporting this because I cannot reject it for purely partisan reasons. Over the past several years, we've been working in a much more bipartisan way. Now, that doesn't mean that we have our partisan differences from time to time, but we have come together. Again, I'll remind people that our last two budgets passed unanimously, which I found to be So I will be voting for it because I simply can't reject it for purely partisan.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Vasquez-Simmons.
I also echo many of the concerns. I also echo many of the concerns of Legislator Barnhart and Baines. My no vote does not reflect the respect that I have for the union, the two individuals that represent the unions, but the mere fact that it's wrong for our community. This is exactly why we were elected, to fight this level of just nonsense. Again, just wanted to explain my vote.
Any other discussion? I'm sorry. Legislator Frazier.
Thank you. Again, it's difficult, but I side with Santos in that, again, I'm not there at the Water Bureau. I know it's not perfect. I know we have problems. But at the same time, when the workers are okay with it, I have to side with them, so I will be voting yes.
Any other discussion? Legislator Bonnick.
Yes, I am going to stand with my colleagues, Frazier and Santos. I have listened to all sides of this, And we're not the ones sitting at the Water Bureau. We're not the ones being impacted by this. I have to listen to them when if they're okay with it. I am going to be okay voting yes to appoint the chairman to the role. I have to work bipartisan, as my colleague, Legislator Mafucci, stated. Working, we should continue or lead from them. And so in that respect, I will be supporting.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Yes.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines votes no. Mr. Blankley.
Yes.
Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer.
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes no. Ms. Hughes Smith is excused. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes yes. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 24-4, resolution passes. Item number 36, referral 24-0345, classification of action and determination of significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act for the acquisition of easements for Taylor Road Bridge Replacement Project in the town of Mendon.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Milne. And legislator Mafucci.
Got it.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 37, referral 24-0346, authorize the acquisition of easements and real property for the Taylor Road Bridge Replacement Project in the town of Mendon.
Moved by legislator Mafucci, seconded by legislator Udelson and legislator Milne. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 24-0347, amending resolution 288 of 2022, increasing and extending contract with Securitas Security Services USA for security services to be provided at various Monroe County facilities and for county programs.
Moved by legislator Long, seconded by legislator Mafucci. This is for introductory, no? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
It'll be on item number 39. Item number 39, referral 24-0348, confirming and adopting assessment roles of Pure Waters districts for 2025 and a confirmation of and adoption of assessment roles.
Move it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I had that moved by legislator Bartholomew McCoy, correct?
Yep.
Who was the second?
Bonnick.
Legislator
And
Bonnick
Mafucci.
and Mafucci.
Okay. Moved by legislator Bonnick, seconded by legislator Mafucci is what it was.
Yep.
Okay.
That's for introductory.
Okay, this is for introductory purposes. Next item.
Item number 40, referral 24-0348, providing that resolution entitled Confirming and Adopting Assessment Roles of Pure Waters Districts for 2025 be tabled.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 41, referral number 24-0348, scheduling public hearings for assessment roles of Pure Waters Districts for 2025 and confirmation and adoption of assessment roles.
Moved by legislator Bonnet, seconded by legislator Mufucci. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item carries. Next item.
Item number 42, referral 24-0350, adoption of 2025 Monroe County budget and establishing 2025 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees.
Move it.
Moved by legislator Mufucci, Bartholomew McCoy, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is for introductory purposes. Next item.
Item number 43, referral 24-0350, providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2025 Monroe County Budget and Establishing 2025 Classification, Compensation, and Salary Schedule for Monroe County employees be tabled.
Moved by legislator Mufucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is to table. All in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 44, referral 24-0350, fixing public hearing on county executive's proposed 2025 Monroe County budget.
Moved by legislator Mufucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, legislator Udelson.
Madam President, I move that we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, December 10th.
Meeting adjourned.